This is not just another day. This is not simply another moment. This is an invitation to rise. Did you feel it? The shift, the pull, the unmistakable force that propels you towards something higher. You were not created for mediocrity. You were not put here to blend in. You are here to lead, change, and completely embody the power that has always been inside you. The struggle, they weren't completely random. The setbacks, they were not accidents. Every obstacle, every uncertainty, every time you wanted to stop but didn't. It was all about molding you, refining you, demonstrating that you were designed differently. The world may have put you to the test, but it misjudged your resilience. Now you are on the verge of something unstoppable. The foundation is laid. The vision is obvious. The only thing left to do is march ahead without doubt, fear, or looking back. You're the storm. You are the shift. You are the one they did not see coming. No more waiting. No more doubts. It's time to embrace your destiny. True success is never measured by how much the audience applauds. It is about demonstrating to yourself that you are an unstoppable force. The most powerful successes are those that occur in quiet, away from the show and beyond the grasp of naysayers. You never needed to be validated. You've never wanted their approval. What you required was unwavering dedication, a vision sculpted out of perseverance, and the patience to allow your victories to take root in their own time. Consider the sculptor who spends months chiseling at a rough slab of stone. There are no masterpieces, only dust, sweat, and labor. Observers may reject it as meaningless effort, unable to perceive what is developing underneath the surface. But when the ultimate blow is delivered and the dust settles, an irrefutable masterpiece emerges where others saw nothing. Your path is no different. The restless nights, the unseen sacrifices, the times of uncertainty that you crushed with your will. These were the subtle strokes that shaped your ascension. And when you eventually come into the light, unshaken and irrefutable, those who previously ignored you will scurry for answers. Let them ponder. Let them whisper. They were never expected to realize the extent of your preparation. Because, in the end, genuine achievement does not need affirmation. It demands acknowledgement. Every setback, every moment of hardship, was never intended to defeat you. It was intended to transform you into something impenetrable. What seemed to be the end was really a disguised change. Every hurt, rejection, and closed door was fuel for your development. Pain was not intended to ruin you. The fire reshaped it. You were thinking about reinvention rather than annihilation. Molten metal does not collapse in the flames. It becomes a sword. The experiences that seemed to be breaking points were really refining moments, transforming you into a sharper, stronger version of yourself. Betrayals, failures, and hurdles, they were not evidence of loss, but of something better being created. Every struggle paved the path for something greater. Every exam assessed your capacity to persevere. And now, as you stand on the verge of what is ahead, you do so with a power that only those who have survived the fire can wield. If your heart is overflowing with God's blessings, let that love radiate. Click the super thank you button and donate $20 or more to sow seeds of faith that will change countless lives. Your giving exemplifies His richness. Be a channel for His grace and watch His kingdom grow through you. There were times when the weight of it all threatened to overwhelm you because the path ahead felt too unpredictable, when loneliness seemed like a greater weight than the fight itself. But you did not stop. You did not surrender. You pushed ahead, even when progress seemed imperceptible, even when uncertainty suggested that it would be simpler to leave. Talent and chance do not distinguish individuals who succeed from those who fail. It is the unwavering resolve to stop moving. People celebrate victories, but seldom appreciate the unseen fights that enabled them. They see the outcome, but not the late nights spent grappling with doubt or the mornings spent forcing oneself to get up. Despite weariness, they weren't there while you fought conflicts inside your own head. And that's what separates you. That is what makes your climb obvious. You weren't only tested by fire. As a result, you grew into something far larger. What defined you was never the weight of what attempted to shatter you. It was the strength that you discovered while reconstructing. You are not a relic of previous hardships. You demonstrate that barriers may be converted into stepping stones. This endeavor was never about proving others incorrect. It was about demonstrating to yourself that nothing can extinguish your passion. Being selected never meant having an easy route. It was about having the stamina to walk the most difficult one. The setbacks, betrayals, and hurdles, they were not penalties. They were the signs of someone being shaped into something better. Resilience is not built in tranquil situations. It was chiseled through adversity, fashioned when capitulation would have been the simpler option. Imagine a blacksmith pounding metal, bending it under extreme heat, and hitting it repeatedly. Every hit is terrible, but essential. Each hit reinforces, refines, and reshapes the raw material until it emerges as something indestructible. That is what happened to you. The difficulties you faced were not signals of misfortune. They were signs that you were destined for more. Long before you realized your own power, the opposition against you exposed it. The more they attempted to shatter you, the more they unintentionally sharpened you. The factors that stood in your way were not barriers. They indicated your potential. That's why the resistance was so persistent. That's why taking a step forward seemed like pushing through a hurricane. But here you are, standing, rising, moving ahead, despite everything. And with survival comes responsibility. Being selected means you no longer have the luxury of spending time on diversions and draining struggles, rather than focusing on pathways that lead you away from your goal. Every setback prepared you for this time. The turmoil was never intended to ruin you. Its purpose was to educate you how to be steadfast in the face of uncertainty. It's time to accept all you're intended to be, without hesitation, without fear, and without turning back. The turmoil of the world does not unsettle a mind fixed in purpose. The capacity to maintain attention in the face of distraction distinguishes those who wander from those who climb. Vision is the difference between being lost in a storm and navigating it with precision. Consider a traveler navigating an uncharted desert. The sun is relentless. The breezes cause the sands to move. The terrain provides no apparent way. Those who lack direction will roam aimlessly, allowing pain to dictate their actions. However, those who know their objective do not depend on what is immediately obvious. They trust their internal compass to guide them ahead, regardless of how unclear the landscape seems. This is the mentality you should adopt. The distractions will arrive. The critics will talk. The unexpected will test your willpower. However, if you let every temporary impediment to control your path, you will never get where you are meant to be. Keep your concentration on what is genuinely important, and no amount of opposition will be able to stop you. Many are called, but only a few are chosen. Matthew 2214. Some people go through life hoping for a sign, a voice from the gods, a wonderful incident that confirmed what they had long known. But the fact is that the calling has been there from the beginning. It was inscribed in your soul before you even breathed your first breath. You were never designed to conform to society's expectations, never intended to follow the crowd, never intended to settle where others found comfort. That uneasy sensation within you that tells you there is more. I was meant for more. That was never doubt. That was heavenly guidance. Imagine a lighthouse towering tall on the brink of a stormy sea. The winds wail. The waves crash. The sky becomes dark. But the lighthouse doesn't move. It doesn't doubt its mission. It does not beg permission to shine. It stands solid because it was designed to survive a hurricane. That's you. While others see turmoil, you see a chance to emerge stronger while others concentrate on the storm. You concentrate on the shoreline beyond it. Not everyone is designed to follow the route you've chosen. The higher you climb, the more away you get from those who settle for the commonplace. When you enter something bigger, the path becomes narrower. The environment isn't structured to make things simple for those who look beyond the surface, while others focus on obstacles. You see secret entrances while others are immobilized by uncertainty. You move with conviction. True visionaries do not steer based on what is evident. They follow an internal compass that most people are unaware of. The capacity to see beyond constraints. That is not simply intelligence. That is spiritual alignment. That's a favor. That demonstrates that what's inside you is greater than whatever in front of you. And here's what you should know. When you step into your power, the whole environment changes. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to show your value. The power of your mission is already at work. People experience it, even if they don't comprehend it. They may interrogate you. They could distrust you. They may not recognize the person you're becoming. But it isn't your issue. Lions do not explain their roar. Eagles do not apologize for flying. And you do not need to dim the light. For those still getting used to the light, the world may attempt to shake you, but the foundation you stand on is unshakable. It's not just about success. This is about being the person you were intended to be. Keep walking. Keep soaring. Keep building. What is ahead of you is larger than whatever you have left behind. There is no need to seek affirmation or demand acknowledgement. Real power does not seek permission to be seen. A storm does not make its presence known until it has reshaped the sky. When you climb, you refuse to conform to expectations that never suit you. Your presence alone alters the dynamic of any environment you encounter. Negativity is noticeable, even when unsaid. Walk into a room filled with uncertainty and you'll feel its weight in the air. However, the same is true in reverse. Those who embody clarity, steadfast confidence, and an unyielding spirit change the environment just by being there. It is an unspoken power that is undeniable and irreversible. This is what you bring, an unshakable presence that does not need to demand attention since its very nature requires it. Not everyone will appreciate how your presence affects the world around you. Someone will be attracted to your fire. Others will feel intimidated and uneasy when you unveil the illusions they've persuaded themselves to live inside. But it is not your weight to bear. You were not created to fit into areas that were too tiny for your needs. You were not supposed to remain silent for the sake of those who refuse to progress. When you lift, the whole foundation changes. Some of them will rise with you. Others will resist. That is their decision. This is not your duty. Your sole responsibility is to keep becoming, to continue moving into your authority without hesitation or compromise. The burden of stasis is significantly greater than the cost of development. Walking away from something that no longer fits is not a loss. It is the essential release that allows for something bigger. Growth necessitates mobility, and the biggest shackles are often not external pressures, but obsolete bonds you've outgrown. I'm doing something new. Now it emerges. Do you not sense it? Isaiah 4319. There comes a point when God changes your life, and you can feel it deep in your soul. Something's shifting. What used to fit, it no longer feels right. Spaces that previously seemed like home now feel like jail. The interactions that once energized you are now draining you. And this isn't because anything is wrong. It is because you are growing. And progress always necessitates release. Imagine a bird that has outgrown its nest. When it was little, the nest provided safety, warmth, and a sense of belonging. However, its wings are currently robust enough. The exact thing that once protected it now keeps it back. It has two options: remain tight and constrained, or expand its wings and go to the sky. That's where you are now. Holding on does not equate to strength. It's discovered in knowing when to let go. Walking away from something that no longer serves you is not a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate demonstration of power. What used to fit now seems restricting. When familiar surroundings begin to seem like shackles rather than foundations. And that moment is not intended to break you. It's intended to wake you awake. Growth requires room, and refusing to let go of what has passed simply delays the transition that is about to occur. But this is what occurs. Too many individuals cling to old relationships, outmoded views, dead-end occupations, and harmful behaviors because they are terrified of what lies ahead. They are concerned that if they unleash, there would be nothing left. But it isn't faith. That is terror. And dread will keep you stuck in a chapter you were intended to leave. Consider a tree in fall, unwilling to let go of its leaves. The seasons are changing, yet it is attempting to cling on to what was. It is unaware that by clinging to what is dying, it is preventing the new life that is about to flourish. This is what happens when you refuse to let go. You're blocking what comes next because your hands are too full with things that no longer belong. Not everyone is destined to join you into the next chapter, and dragging them along simply slows your own progress. You see, certain individuals were allocated to your history rather than your future. And it isn't a negative thing. It just indicates that they are participating. Your story is completed. The difficulty arises when you continue to force relationships that were never intended to stay forever. Letting go is never easy. Sometimes it feels like a loss. Sometimes it feels like betrayal. However, nothing is more self-destructive than shrinking oneself in order to make others comfortable. Growth requires sacrifice. Old patterns, obsolete ideas, and misdirected loyalties must be shed. However, when you yield to this fact, room is made for what was always intended to enter what formerly seemed like. Loss manifests itself as liberty. Opportunity arises. Clarity improves, and alignment becomes simple. Detachment is not the same as abandonment. It is a purposeful decision to completely embody who you are intended to be, free of what no longer belongs. God is calling you higher, but you cannot carry excessive weight. It's time for a release. It's time to believe. It's time to embrace what awaits you with open hands and hearts. Because what is ahead, it is larger than everything you are leaving behind. Things that are actually intended for you will never need to be forced. Desperation repels, alignment attracts. Struggle develops when you pursue something that was never intended to remain. When you try to fit into spaces that were never designed for you. However, as you act in harmony with your objective, the opposition diminishes. Not because the road is simple, but because each step seems purposeful. Consider how the tide meets the shoreline. It does not beg or struggle. It travels in accordance with forces larger than itself. In the flow, everything finds its place. The same thing occurs when you completely accept who you are without doubt. The more you let go of what isn't serving your purpose, the closer you go to natural magnetism. The appropriate folks, the appropriate opportunities, the correct experiences, they come easily, not because you demanded them, but because you became the version of yourself who was prepared to accept them. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and clear mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. Fear is a thief. It steals dreams, delays breakthroughs, and persuades individuals to remain in situations they've outgrown. It whispers and lies, telling you that you cannot, that you will not, that if you go outside, you will fall. But here is the reality. Fear is not of God. Doubt creates fear, and its only function is to keep you trapped in a version of life that is no longer useful. You imagine an eagle reared in a cage. It was born with wings meant for the skies, yet it has only known the bars that surround it. When the door is eventually opened, it pauses, not because it isn't designed to fly, but because it has only recognized boundaries. This is how fear works. It convinces you that the walls surrounding you are more secure than the wide sky. But deep inside, you are meant for more. Fear keeps individuals bound to things that no longer serve them. They cling to suffocating habits and draining relationships, and belief systems that no longer agree, not because they actually belong there, but because uncertainty frightens them. The mind wants familiarity, even if it is a prison. But getting into harmony requires trust. It takes bravery to release what has expired, even though the following step is yet unknown. It entails admitting that if anything goes wrong, it was never part of the overall plan. If a route is obstructed, it was not intended to be traversed. Every closed door, every rejection, every unexpected change is just God. You are recalibrating your direction. What is genuinely intended for you will never need you to sacrifice your value in order to get it. If you have to force anything, if it drains you instead of fueling you, it was never yours in the first place. Desperation repels destiny, but so can confidence, patience, and trust. They attract the things that were always destined to find you. When you carry the energy of your higher self, opportunities do not need to be pursued. They are attracted to you easily. Imagine a river flowing downstream. It does not struggle to go ahead. It merely takes the course it was meant to take. It does not compel the rocks to move. It does not deviate from its intended route. It flows, trusting that it is being transported precisely where it should be. This is what alignment looks like. This is what it means to trust. And trust is not passive. It is a choice. It is getting up every day and choosing to think that you are precisely where you are supposed to be. That which is unfolding is occurring for you, not to you. It's refusing to accept anything that forces you to beg, shrink, or undermine your own progress. It's realizing that the same things you're frightened to let go of are really impeding what's already in store for you. So let the past go away. The ancient tales die. Allow broken relationships to dissipate. Fear may attempt to hold you back, but it has no actual power. It only has the power you allow it to have. You were not supposed to live a tiny, constrained, or uncertain life. You were designed for growth. You were designed for overflow. You were meant for more. And the minute you actually believe it, the doors that seem to be closed will open, not because you pursued them, but because you finally became the version of yourself who was ready to go through. The conflicts you fought were never intended to stop you. They were intended to prepare you. Every obstacle, delay, and setback was not a punishment. It was conditioning. Resistance only arises when progress is accomplished. Those who stay static seldom face pushback. Adversity only worsens when you start pushing beyond your limitations, breaking patterns, and evolving. That is not a coincidence. This is confirmation. Growth is never quiet or simple. Nothing comes free. The instant you choose to go outside your comfort zone, the world will push back. But just as metal is tempered by fire, and sculptors must hammer stone to reveal its real form, you are being sculpted by each hardship. Each challenge has sharpened rather than diminished you. And even if it didn't seem like it at the time, every wound, detour, and moment of uncertainty was an important step toward creating the person you are today. Struggle is sometimes misunderstood. Many people observe struggle and feel it signifies retreat. They mistook friction for failure. Setbacks indicate that they should resign. However, nothing worthwhile has ever been created without struggle. No inventor, leader, or pioneer has ever traveled an easy path. Reflect on your own path. The deepest agony, the biggest uncertainty, the most difficult lessons. These were not random impediments. They were proving grounds. They were times intended to test your determination and see if you genuinely had the fortitude to claim what you claimed you desired. But what those powers never expected was that you would not break that. Rather than withdrawing, you adapted. Instead of falling, you learnt to ascend. And now, you stand unshaken, undefeated. The resistance did not destroy you. It exposed you. It revealed the depth of your resilience, the tenacity of your discipline, and the unshakable power of your will. Understand this: when the route gets tough and opposition arises, it is not a signal to turn back. It proves that you are precisely where you are supposed to be. Ease is not synonymous with strength. It is formed by perseverance. Those who choose their own path will always meet hostility, since their presence challenges the norm. Keep going, not out of stubbornness, but because each trial demonstrates your preparedness. The hardships were never meant to stop you. They were there to confirm your instructions. And behind the hardships and losses comes something bigger than success. It is the impression you leave behind. Every minute of perseverance. Each lesson was learned. Every time you rose instead of retreating, you weren't simply creating your own destiny. You were setting the groundwork for those who would follow, demonstrating by action that change is attainable. Your trip has a greater influence than you are aware of. Every fight waged, hurdle conquered, every pain endured. Nothing was in vain. Growth is more than simply a personal success. It causes a ripple effect that goes far beyond the ego. Consider a builder creating a monument not just for their personal legacy, but also as a building that will endure long after they are gone. The difficulties you endured were not just intended to mold you. They were intended to serve as evidence to others. That resilience leads to something bigger. People do not connect with perfection. They find courage in tales of endurance. Someone is now observing, looking for signs that survival is feasible. But breaking cycles is real. That adversity does not signal the end. And each time you rise, every time you go ahead, you become that evidence. Not in words, but in actions. However, leaving a legacy involves more than simply inspiration. It is about developing something that will endure. Each lesson was learned. Every truth has been discovered. Every accomplishment should not evaporate with you. It is your obligation to guarantee that all you have fought for survives beyond your lifetime. The road was never only about personal success. It was about adjusting perspectives, setting new norms, and demonstrating that restriction is an option. True satisfaction is not stumbled upon. It is claimed, constructed, and protected. Once you've claimed it, the next step is to show others how to do the same. Struggles were never indicative of failure. They were preparing for this time. Every setback prepared you for the life you were supposed to live. Doors you believed were closed were never out of reach. They waited for you to grow into the version of yourself capable of walking through them. And there's nothing left to pursue. There's nothing left to prove. What belongs to you was never intended to be begged for. It was always meant to be claimed. There is no need to validate. There's no need for explanation. This is not a moment of arrogance, but rather peaceful confidence. Every lesson, every adversity, and every success has led to this advancement, not with uncertainty, but with the unwavering presence of someone who is aware they have come.